As much as I want to say that 4 years of college taught me nothing, that's not true. College has been an infinite number of highs and lows, so graduating feels like a miracle. My name's Maddie, and this is a story of why graduation made me cry. When I came to college, my mindset was to get as far away from home as possible. I thought I wouldn't learn anything if I stayed there. But I remember being so not myself first year. I was trying to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. It did force me to try new things. It was the first time I was a part of a Christian community my age. Because of the people I met there, I never felt alone, and I felt loved even though I was very different from everyone else. Or at least that's what I thought. It was there that I learned how to slow down during my life, take days where I sleep early, and where I learned what active rest was. At the same time, life was very chaotic. I remember not spending many nights in my own room, whether that was because I was with my friends or in the library. I'd basically do anything except sleep to keep myself distracted. I still did pretty well school-wise and social-wise. But it was in March that I went on a snowboarding trip and injured my right knee. What ended up happening, I wouldn't know until a few months later after I'd been rotting away in bed after going home for spring break. That was when COVID hit hard enough that we were forced to move out of the dorms. It was quarantined for a while after, but it wasn't too bad. I love home and I missed my family, and during this time, I was so blessed because I had more time to spend with them than I had my whole life. This might be an exaggeration, but it feels true to me. We had so many meals together that I lost count, and we spent time outside when we could, including the time I let my sister shoot an arrow through the garage door. During the first part of quarantine, I was grinding classes because I had nothing else to do. That and driving around. I had also started to get back on my feet, so things slowly got better. Later in the year, I wanted to move back to Atlanta. I had an apartment that I hadn't lived in for 5 months and a roommate who was also living there. So when I finally ended up moving, we were so excited, and she introduced me to her friends that she had just met. This ended up being my first college friend group. We cooked for each other, hung out, broke some rules, and talked for hours on end. None of us really had other friends, and we became a family since we were some of the only people on campus. I've always loved food, but they showed me food in a new way. Eating with them became so fun. I'd even fallen in love with the Korean dish jjajangpap that I didn't really like before, just because they made it for me before I went to the airport. After that semester, I once again moved back home. I was not doing well at the time because my relationship was at a tough point and I was having severe burnout. Going into my junior year, I was exhausted and struggling to be motivated. I didn't want to do anything anymore. I took a gap semester the fall of junior year and got the chance to travel with my family a bit. I worked a handful of random part-time jobs that I loved. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to work my East Coast job and work until the evenings on most days before going to the gym at night. It was a big grind, but I managed to squeeze in a trip to Atlanta to visit some friends. When I came to visit, a close friend encouraged me to study abroad because a lot of his friends were going. So I did. I went abroad. It was one of the most natural experiences of my life. Other than what most people say about their abroad experiences, I felt like this time taught me that I just needed to be myself. That the school I came from didn't matter, the people I know doesn't. Not even the country I'm from does. It's just how I am in the moment. One memory changed my life, and that was visiting the Gullfoss waterfall in Iceland. It's a huge waterfall for those who don't know. We went during the winter, so we had to walk down this long staircase through the snow. And before even reaching the stairs, I remember hearing the sheer amount of water, and just that brought me to tears. After that, I'd cry at everything. I'd cry because I was alive, I'd cry because I was hurting, because I was happy, because my friend was happy, because of everything everywhere all at once, because of the sunset, because of the sunrise, and everything was very pure. Of course, traveling was a big part of being in Europe. and I met some incredibly inspiring people along the way. And one of the things I'm most grateful for was getting to learn through an education system that valued different results than the American one. I loved being abroad, and I became good friends with the people from my home university, even though I didn't want to hang out with them at first. They were the reason I had so much energy to return back to school for my senior year. We had a really hard time adjusting back, and we would send texts about how much we missed studying abroad. We'd also try to meet up in the afternoons for fika, but it wasn't the same without Espresso House. Towards the middle of the semester, our friend passed away. To say it was a hard time was an understatement. I didn't know how to react because it seemed to affect every aspect of my life. My friends and I needed each other every moment of every single day. It was so hard to grieve while being in classes, and I gave up because I couldn't manage anything. I stopped working, I stopped studying, I stopped working out, and I stopped eating well. I did start my video diaries though. Hi camera.
Hey Cam. Hey Cam.
Hey Cam. In reflecting, I started to appreciate my friends and family way more. I also started loving things that I wouldn't have a year ago. Like when my roommates' shoots were all over the place, but it let me know we were all home. And times like I missed the bus or it was late, I could at least stare at the sky and feel the wind a little bit longer. I also got to grow close to people who I didn't even know before my friend had left us. And they're some of my most beautiful friendships today. Before my final semester of college, I went with my family to Egypt. Even though I had traveled to over a dozen countries that year, Egypt met me exactly where I needed. It made me feel small in terms of history and reminded me that everything returns back to the sand. I got to take a step back from my own life and breathe. It was time for the final semester. I put a lot of pressure on this one because I wanted to make the last one the best one. I traveled with my friends, worked hard but effortlessly, cooked, worked out, started journaling, meditating, and got invested in fixing my hormones. I slowly started to feel myself again, and I felt more connected to those around me. I became incredibly forgiving to myself and to others, and felt much more at peace than I had the other few years. Time really flew by, and I know that when I think about college, I'll remember this last semester well. So why did graduation make me cry? I'm afraid that I'll forget these memories, grow apart from my friends, and lose myself all over again. I'm sure that's not wrong, but for right now, I'll cherish everything.